It's still happening in the global scene. Israel, the US, Iran, President Trump, very angry yesterday. But Will has more details of what's going on in the global scene. Will, over to
Ini, good
you.
morning. It's good to see you on this side. It's always exciting when you're there and I'm here. It's more like, I need to see your hologram, not just see you on the screen. Like, that should be happening soon. So let's just jump into what's happening. China is stepping up efforts to internationalize the yuan as confidence in the US dollar dips, with the dollar index down over 9% this year and the yuan gaining 2%. And the People's Bank of China is calling for less reliance on a single sovereign currency. Beijing plans to open a center for digital yuan internationalization in Shanghai and expand trading of yuan-based futures. The central bank is also encouraging the use of the digital yuan to replace some cash in circulation. And 3 major Chinese exchanges have now allowed foreign investors access to 16 new futures and option contracts, including rubber, lead, and tin, part of a broader push to attract global players to its markets. Now, still in China, Premier Li Qiang says China will take steps to become a global consumption powerhouse. Alongside its manufacturing strengths, he expressed confidence in China's growth at a key forum. Economist Louis Liu noted China's strong export position despite tariff threats, saying it remains vital to global supply chains. Leaders from Singapore, Vietnam, and Ecuador attended the event, with Li holding talks with several counterparts over the past week. Now move to Thailand, where the Bank of Thailand kept its policy rate unchanged at 1.75% on Wednesday, with 6 out of 7 committee members voting to hold. The decision aligns with most economists' expectations amid weak growth and low inflation. However, one member backed a rate cut, highlighting internal debate over how to support the economy. Now let's move to still about inflation and what's happening in the economy. Spain's economy expanded by 0.6% in the first quarter of 2025, according to final figures from the National Statistics Institute. On a year-on-year basis, GDP rose 2.8%, matching both earlier estimates and analyst expectations. The data confirms steady growth in line with INE's preliminary April release. Now, former Italian PMS Matteo Renzi and Enrico Letta says Europe must assert itself amid growing U.S. disengagements. Letta warns Trump's second-term agenda weakens multilateralism and pressures allies. German and French leaders echoed the concern, saying Europe must boost defense spending as America shifts focus. They called for stronger European autonomy, warning of a deeply destabilized environment where EU allies may no longer be able to rely on U.S. priorities. Let's head now to Washington, where Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell faced lawmakers on Capitol Hill yesterday, Tuesday, delivering his semi-annual testimony amid rising inflation concerns and political pressure. Our correspondent Maria Bird joins us now with key takeaways with the politics behind the Fed's cautious tone. Maria, it's good to have you on the program. Good morning. Maria, Powell says the Fed's in no rush to cut rates. Did that land well with lawmakers or raise eyebrows? I know you were keeping an eye on what was going on yesterday.
Yes, yesterday was quite a day. Are looking to see how and when they will be able to ensure that the U.S. is able to stay steady within the economy. Now, as we look at exactly this, as you mentioned, this is few weeks around the call for reducing interest rates in the United States by the administration. And obviously, many Americans would love to see that. That was a chairman has been under immense pressure, but he has provided clear indications as to how he believes that inflation is potentially on the rise, how we've seen across the board. And so if he was to reduce interest rates, he believes that we would be potentially. We know that there has always been some discussions over the past year around whether or not the U.S. could chairman's number one focus throughout these past couple of years, and he has not bended administration's request to reduce rates.
We just one more thing before I let you go, Juliana. I just want to know, Powell did say yesterday that he's just there to do the job and he wants to leave a good economy for his successor, and he is not intimidated by what President Trump is doing, as long as he just wants to do his job and get U.S. economy on the right path before he leaves. So he also pointed that, you know, Trump's tariffs is at risk. How much of this trade politics is now shaping Fed's decisions right now? Just a quick one to let us, you know, understand this before we wrap up. Okay, I think we lost Maria there, but yesterday, if we're watching, if you're following the Congress, the hearing yesterday, there was no sense of heat coming from Powell. It was calm, and he did firmly stand on his position, saying that he was not in a rush to leave his position as Fed chair as long as the U.S. economy stays on track, and that's what he is about in the U.S. Until that happens, President Trump probably has to deal with him for much longer. So that's what we have in it. Basically, Trump is putting a lot of pressure on the Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, but he is staying put, staying on his ground, and not letting anything sway him as long as he's doing the right thing. So, Aini, I don't know if you can hear me right there where you are in Abuja, but I don't know what your thoughts are. If you had followed the hearing yesterday, it was quite exciting to know that these people are concerned about who is going to pay the price for Trump's tariffs. Is it going to come down to the consumers, or is it just the big companies that are going to suffer it? All the small businesses as well. But Powell did mention that this is going to trickle down to small businesses, to small consumers that are at the receiving end of this also. The U.S. economy is not going to be entirely immune to these tariffs, as we have already seen, and we're hoping that maybe there'll be like some kind of, you know, pushback from countries, and maybe some easing of some of the tariffs. So you see UK and US broker some deal, 10% off, and also no tariff on their steel import, especially for the auto industry, which is not is a big deal for most countries, especially everyone who has to drive a car. So, Amy, I don't know, what are your thoughts on this? Did you follow it yesterday?
Well, Will, thank you so much. The thing is, as Jerome Powell said, at the end of the day, it's the consumers who pay for it, whether it's the big companies or the small companies. It's passed down to the consumers. Maybe not all of the percentage, but I mean most of it, because people are there to, companies are there to do business. And of course, we know President Trump hasn't been very happy recently from the war between Israel and Iran, the ceasefire that was, one fault or the other, whether it's Israel or Iran, said after the ceasefire, there was still an attack. That's on the one hand. And of course, with the cutting of interest rates, which he hasn't been able to achieve. But we'll watch this space and bring the news right here on channel. Thank you so much, Will, for that update from the global scene. And that's where we say thank you so much for also being a part of Business Morning. I'm in Abuja, but it doesn't change anything. We're still here to give you 55 minutes of current and relevant business conversations. And that's what we've done today, looking at cross-border trade and all of that. And we'll give you more tomorrow, God's grace. But I know by 1 p.m., Laddie Williams and Will be back to give you updates from the world of business. That's 1 p.m. coming from Lagos. I'm Ini John Mekwa. I'll see you tomorrow, God's grace.